Hi guys. This is going to be the first video for my VEDA challenge, a video every day in April. I'm obviously on day 4 already and this is the first one, so I'm a little behind. Oh well. Today I'm going to do a video about my top 5 favorite classic books, and that's really hard for me because I really like classic literature. I also don't have all 5 books with me, one because I don't own The Great Gatsby, which kills me inside. Also because my copy of Gulliver's Travels is currently down the hall with my friend Kayla. I do have the other 3 though, and we're going to talk about all 5. So, number 1, To Kill a Mockingbird. I may have talked about this in another video, I don't remember. It's one of my favorite books ever, and it's really beautifully written. There's a reason it's a classic, and it's a really great story about figuring out who you are and how you fit in the world, and also how, kind of how the world works. Number 2, Jane Eyre. I really love this book. I read it after a J-term class on the book by Jane Austen, Persuasion. And Persuasion, if you didn't know, is a really tiny book. It didn't take me very long to read. We had like 2 hours a day, and I got it done in the first day of this class. So I was in my English teacher's room, and I was like, what should I do next? And she was like, well, go take a look at the stuff on the bookshelf. And so I went over and I was looking at things, and I found Jane Eyre, and I devoured it in like 2 days. And it's a pretty thick book. Jane Eyre is by Charlotte Bronte, one of the Bronte sisters, and she tells a story about this young woman who grew up in really difficult circumstances. Her parents are dead, and she's living with this terrible aunt who really doesn't like her, and these really terrible cousins, and then she gets shipped off to a boarding school, and it's really awful, and her best friend dies, and all of these things happen, and then she moves to a house of which the name I can't remember, to be a governess to this little French girl. And she doesn't know who owns the house. She doesn't meet him for a very long time, but when she does, it begins one of the most touching love stories in history. I guess not history, in literary history. She meets Mr. Rochester, and he's older, and he's angry and sort of harsh, and Jane doesn't understand why she has this strange connection with him and why he's so drawn to her, because she knows that he is. And it's a tragic story, but it's beautiful, and it does have a happy ending, and if you haven't read it or haven't seen the movies, this is definitely a classic to pick up. It's beautiful. Number 3 is Alice in Wonderland. This is my graduation copy, because I had a copy before, but my wonderful Uncle Troy and Chris bought me a really beautiful copy of it that I love. And Alice in Wonderland is a children's story. Obviously, everyone knows what Alice in Wonderland is about. But if you've never actually sat down and read the book, I definitely would, because Alice in Wonderland is a book that has so many levels. Because you read it, and on the surface, it's a silly, funny children's tale, and you can definitely see how Lewis Carroll could come up with these kinds of stories off the top of his head just to tell the little adult children. And there's sort of these whimsical stories that have these huge, deep meanings and sort of spooky undertones. One other thing I'll add about Alice in Wonderland is, if you're interested, you should definitely do some research on Lewis Carroll himself. I had to do it for an English project my senior year, and it was really cool for me to kind of see why Lewis Carroll wrote the things that he did, and see some of the things that people said about him. There were a lot of things in his life that people were really critical of, things that they said he did, things that were said about him. People were very critical of Lewis Carroll, both during his life and after he died, and it sheds a different kind of light on the stories, and makes it all the more amazing, at least to me, that the books and the story has survived in the way that it has, and the fact that it's still so popular with people today. Book number 4 is The Great Gatsby. I don't have a copy myself, which is sad, and I'm asking for it for my birthday again. So parents, boyfriend, family, brother, if you're watching this. I'm pretty sure I talked about The Great Gatsby in my first video, so I'm not going to go into huge detail, because of course I just finished reading it for the first time when I made that video, so it was still pretty fresh in my mind, and now it's been a couple of months. But The Great Gatsby is a classic for a reason. It really is. It's a existentially gorgeous story that takes a deep look at humanity and just the messes that we get ourselves into sometimes. There's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of character development. It's a very poignant story. It's very emotional. And it's something that sticks with you. It's really a beautiful story that you should take a look at. Finally, number 5 is Gulliver's Travels, which is also sort of a children's story, but sort of not. There's definitely some weird stuff in the Gulliver's Travels. It's been my favorite book, one of my favorite books, since I was really small. I don't know how I ran across it. I think I saw some TV movie adaptation with somebody. I don't even remember. It was a long time ago, but it was one of my favorite movies for a long time. And I got a copy of the book as in junior high and read it all the way through, and oh, it's so good. There's so much weird, quirky, bizarre stuff. I think that's all the bases. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a video every day in April, and I have a couple of ideas, but not nearly enough to fill up the whole month. So leave your suggestions in the comments or contact me on Twitter or Facebook, and let me know something you'd like to hear a video on. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye!